right, so let's look at muscles of the forearm. For the forearm, there's a couple things you need to know before you start. First, which bone is which? So remember, the radius is rad, it's on the thumb side. The ulna is the bone on the medial side. Landmark terms for the wrist is carpi or carpal. So we're going to say carpi here. Fingers are digits. If it's just one, we're going to say digiti. If it's more than one, we're going to say digitorum. And then the other thing we need to know is that muscles on the anterior side of the forearm are flexors. Muscles on the posterior side are extensors of the fingers and the wrist. So wrist flexion, finger extension, wrist extension. All right, so usually where I start is here because this muscle is a little different. This one is called the pronator teres. Teres means kind of conical, not conical, like a rod shaped. So from there, I work my way from lateral to medial until I have to flip the arm. So here, with this first muscle near the pronator teres, this one is anterior, so it's a flexor. Its tendon goes to the wrist, so carpi is on the thumb side, radialis. So flexor, carpi, radialis. The next one has a long tendon that goes to the palm, palmaris longus. Then we have a muscle on the medial side, but still in the anterior compartment. So flexor, tendon goes to the wrist, carpi, medial side, ulnaris. So flexor, carpi, ulnaris. Now we're going to flip the arm over. And here we can see another little oblique muscle peeking out. The one on the posterior side is called the anconeus. So here's our flexor, carpi, ulnaris here. So now that we flip the arm, we're looking at the extensor, carpi, ulnaris, because we're still on the posterior and medial side. Lateral to that, you have a small muscle that has a tendon that only goes into the pinky finger. So our fancy anatomical way of saying that, a pinky finger, or fifth digit, is minimi. So this is an extensor digiti because it's just one, and minimi because it's number 5. So extensor digiti minimi. Extensor digitorum is the next one. So this is an extensor because it's on the posterior compartment, and it has tendons going into digits 2, 3, and 4. So more than one. If we work our way around, on the thumb side, we have 2 muscles that are grouped together, but one is longer, the more lateral one, and one is shorter, the more medial one. So they're both extensors. They're both carpi because they both go to the wrist, and they're both on the thumb side, so they're both radialis. But the longer one we're going to call the longus, and the medial shorter one we're going to call the brevis. So extensor, carpi, radialis, brevis, extensor, carpi, radialis, longus. And the last one in the forearm that you need to know is the brachioradialis. Brachio in the name implies that it starts on the humerus, or the brachium. And radialis tells you which side of the arm it's on. So the brachioradialis curves around from the posterior back towards the anterior side of the forearm. So now we're back where we started with pronator teres here.